Hey lads, this weekend I decided to go to Galway, Ireland on the train, and as I was on the train I thought maybe it's a good time to play a casual game of chess. Little did I know, however, that as I turned on the chess.com app on my phone that I was going to be versing the Neymar of Brazilian chess, Krikor Mekhitarian, a Brazilian two-time chess champion and the director of Portuguese content for chess.com. Well lads, here's the game that I played against Krikor. We're going to go through it and have a look, and I'll talk about what I was thinking. Just so you know, the game is played on his speedrun account. This is not his real account. But let's just go through the game and I'll talk about what I was thinking. So the game started with the Jabava London. He played knight f6 and I played knight c3, and he put his pawn in the center and I put my bishop out on f4. And at this point of the game I was thinking, okay, this is pretty normal, pretty typical game. I've seen this opening 100 times, so I wasn't too worried.
London jogava aqui, cavalo c3 ameaçando o e4. Já falei muitas vezes sobre o cavalo vir na frente do peão, que não é grande coisa, mas esse sistema faz sentido se o branco jogar de maneira inteligente.
He plays his pawn out to a6, and I believe in his video he talks a little bit about this. It completely stops any ideas of coming over to c7, grabbing that c7 pawn, which is a very common idea in the Jabava opening. This is a move that's called prophylaxis, and a prophylaxis move is just stopping your opponent's ideas. You're not really developing yourself, you're not really able to get any momentum going yet, but you're completely shutting down your opponent's idea. You're taking it easy, going slow. So just a very solid move in general. I think he advises to not always play this kind of move, but in this situation he said that he thought he would do it because he didn't want to have to deal with any issues on the queen side of the board. For the next move, I moved my knight to f3. f3 is a good move, but the engine is saying e3 is better. The reason I think e3 is better is because if they move their pawn up here, they can get their bishop out, pin this knight to the king, and if I had played e3 and I had seen on the next move that his pawn was coming out, I would know his idea and I would be able to play my knight. Instead of to f3, I could play it to e2, and the knight on e2 would defend the knight on c3. But we went with this. In this position, Krikor played his bishop out to f5, and the idea here is he's putting it on the outside of this pawn chain. You don't want to leave it here and block up the pawn chain. It can become kind of a useless piece a lot of the time. So even though the engine says the pawn to e6 is slightly better, this move is very good. But what it does give me is a target as white. So now my whole idea here is just to attack that bishop and advance my pawns as I attack it. So that's what we go for. e3, he puts his pawn on e6. I play this move, and I don't know if this is completely right. I was just trying to do like a prophylactic move just like he did with a6. So I went a3 and I was stopping his idea of pinning me, but I could have played my knight immediately and this probably would have been better. So he moves his knight in, and here I go for g4. This move I think kind of surprised him a little bit, and he said in his commentary of our game on his channel that there are no more easy games in chess, and everybody's studying a lot of openings and opening theories, and he felt like I was playing pretty well.
Pode ser que ele faça g4 aqui. Eu não sei se dá certo, pensando bem. Os caras estão estudando mesmo, né? Não tem mais bolo no xadrez.
I'm really happy that I got a compliment like that from a Grandmaster, but don't worry, there won't be too many more compliments because we mess up pretty soon here. So Krikor spent about 2 minutes analyzing everything in this position. He tried to look and see what would happen if he moved his bishop here. He knew I would go here, and then he'd have to pull back to here, and I could go h4 and maybe come h5. And he didn't like that whole plan. He also spoke about calculating the most important moment in the chess game, and he said he spent 2 minutes because it was a critical moment that he needed to calculate. But he took my knight here, and as soon as he did that, I recaptured with the pawn, which was a miss. I actually could have captured his bishop here, I'm doing very well here. The game's basically even. I have a slight edge, but after I capture here, I no longer have any advantage in this game. He's basically up a whole pawn already because he's got 2 attackers on this pawn, and he can move his knight out of danger and capture my pawn, which is what he does quite promptly.
Mas agora cavalo G4 eu tenho, né? Acho que ele não viu esse lance. Porque esse bispo G4... F3, né? Atacar meu bispo e meu cavalo. Só que eu tomo aqui, né? E ganho um peão. Né? F3 não tem problema, cavalo H6. É um peão e limpa mais aqui.
The biggest mistake of this whole game was my next move. And I'm kind of embarrassed by it. It was really stupid of me. And that's why my name is Blunder Man. But this was a blunder. Moving this bishop here is a big time blunder, and not for what he actually played. He played a very good move. I guess Krikor hasn't been feeling super well of late, but he said when he made this move that it was such an incredible move that he made that his cough disappeared.
Bispo H3, mas aqui eu tenho até dama H4, né, que é um lance incrível. É tão incrível que até passou minha tosse já. Não tô mais doente.
The only move that I could really see to do was to take this knight because he's threatening checkmate here. And I didn't want to get checkmated, so I took his knight. And then he's able to recapture with bishop. So I either have to move my queen or block with my knight. I'm basically having to respond to all his threats. I decided to move my knight because my knight is another piece that I could get into the defense. Maybe I can get it over here to g3 and help defend. That was a reasoning why I moved it. But actually, it says that the best move was to move my queen. So I moved my knight, and my opponent pulls back with his queen. And now he has this battery coming for my knight. The knight is pinned, so if I want to move it to attack his queen, he would immediately take my queen, I take his queen, and then he'd take my knight. So this was not good for me, so I thought I'll move my rook in to help defend, and maybe I have to sack a rook or something.
Não tenho medo dele fazer F3, ele se enfraquece muito, né?
Here, if he takes my knight, I take his queen. He takes my queen, I take with king. And I'm sort of surviving. He's up a pawn, but I'm sort of surviving. But here he just castled. Real simple move. Gets his king way over one side of the board. And quite interesting move by him. I would never do this, I think, if I was playing a game of chess.
Owing for Real é o nome do cara. Blunder Man, o cara tem um canal no YouTube, olha só.
I just got recognized by a chess grandmaster. Whoa! So exciting. Actually, so exciting. Here I move my queen up. Again, best move. I'm really happy that I spotted a lot of these best moves, but I thought I need to get out of this pin. This bishop is pinning the knight, so the knight can't move. I want to be able to use this knight, maybe get it over to g3 and hit this queen and start gaining some ground back. Maybe I can walk my king over to safety at some point, but... here he just develops his bishop. Now his bishop's going to be coming into the attack, and I go with this idea of going knight to g3.
Dá um pouco de medo, mas tá tudo certo, né? Porque torre H1, dama G2, né? E se cavalo E2 voltando, que é um lance que eu vi também, que dá um tilt, né? Porque ataca a dama e ataca aqui, eu consigo voltar em último caso.
Now in this position, I actually missed a little kind of tactic. I could have moved my knight here to defend my rook, but also attack his queen with my bishop. The reason I didn't do this move was because I thought he could take my knight and maybe I'd have to recapture here and then he would win my rook. I didn't calculate that well at all. Actually, I could have even taken with my king and he can't take here and he has to move his queen away. But the best move would have been obviously to take his queen. So instead of doing this knight move, I just thought I'll move my king over. So I move my king over to f1 just to protect my rook. And here he moves his bishop in, one step closer to getting me. I move my knight finally now and defending it here and also attacking his queen because I finally spot that. all he does is move his queen up, and now my king is forced away. Here he goes with the next step of his plan, attacking on g5, hitting my bishop, and here I could have moved away, but I foolishly took that pawn. Now, I can see in retrospect why taking that pawn was so bad. It opens up this file for more of his pieces to come through, but I didn't think, and here he moves his rook over to attack my rook. Now here the best move is to trade off, and his rook's here. He can't checkmate me quite yet because I have a knight, but it's looking pretty bad for me. Here I foolishly step back, defended twice by my pawn and my knight, and all he does is checks me on h1, which is a disgusting move.
Dama H1 já ganha. É mate, né? Ah, é um mate bonito, sacrifica na dama, inclusive. Cavalo G1 e pimba.
I can't move my rook to g1 because he would take with his rook, I take with my knight, and he'd take queen checkmate. And if I move my knight here, which is what I did in the game, he has a really disgusting sacrifice. A brilliant move with his queen, queen g1. My only move in this position is to take it and checkmate. He checkmated me in 23 moves. What an absolute monster. This guy destroyed me.